All right, what's up, folks? Good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday, September 3rd. Keep on wanting to think it's Tuesday. It is a Wednesday. And yeah, the talk of the town here. The bell of the ball would be the Google up a good $14 here pre-market, which I think translates to about a healthy 7% pop. So for our 250 calls here for December, does become an interesting morning. I'm leaning towards booking the profit, and here's why. We have the 250 call for December 19th. So yeah, it's an idea with another 100 plus days till expiration. Thinking here is you're taking that monthly squeeze. Um, where is our monthly? There we go. Now the initial thing here, I did not get a great entry. So with the indicator update, the great entry is going to be on the green arrow. That's where you find that perfect squeeze near the sweet spot. So you had a green arrow back here. All right, got the entry, the push, and then for about I can't do math. For about 8 weeks, you had two green arrows. Basically screaming, hey, Taylor, pay attention. I've got the squeeze, and I've got the momentum. I've got the structure. I've got the trend. I've got the perfect 15 and the good entry or the great entry. We didn't buy it back there. We bought it around, a little bit closer to $200. So I've got to factor that in. If they gap it into, say, 225, and then maybe into end of September, October, it's a pullback into, let's just call it $200. I don't have a profit cushion. One, I don't have a profit cushion. I didn't get long from back here. And two, my 250 call still is going to be out the money. Therefore, if I thought they could go from 225 into 250 in a big straight shot, I do think you hold on, wait for a little bit more. I'm a little bit more inclined to book the profit here at the open. And then again, with the assumption Google doesn't go straight towards 250, any pullback, any 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour squeeze, we got some profits to play with. Now, of course, the trade would be a little cooler if the calls expired, maybe this Friday and not 30 Fridays from now. But yeah, we got the Google, and again, it's point for point, we're maybe going to catch about. If they can open around 225, 226, from the entry, we caught about 10, maybe 12% push on the overall equity. If you're the guy or the gal buying it back here on the green arrow around buck 75, you're going to catch here about a 30% push. Great entry versus a good entry. But yeah, we'll take the profit here. And then I don't think that'll be all she wrote. It's just, how much more can you get from what'll be an open right around the daily 5th ATR extension? The gift of the gap. But all right, we have the Google, and then we also have some Tesla with the October call debit spreads. And for this one, looking like a pop into 335-ish. The 2-day squeeze continues to print the green arrow. All the bells and whistles, and where I really want to jump in and buy more would be the green arrow here for the weekly squeeze. If they could get that anytime soon, I think you're looking out into October, November, December. Thinking being, if you have a good market behind it, they should, keyword should, take the big triple squeeze here, weekly, the 3-day, and the 2-day. Try to get that path going back into 400, 420. Looking to add to that one, and then we have the October Amazon call debit spreads. And I would add to that idea on a green arrow on the 3-day squeeze. Good looking 3-day squeeze, but better looking on the green arrow. Okay, so there's our 3 open trades, and then index-wise, a few things here from the futures. Good bit of back and forth yesterday. A lot of it being near that daily 50. All right, you've got the let's mark up the 50. So here's the action from yesterday. You have the flush down to the 50. You've got the break below it. You have the rally back to it, the rejection, the rally back to it. Good old fashioned back and forth. And now what do we have here for any kind of clarity as far as direction? There's a 2-day, a daily, a 15-minute, and a 5-minute squeeze, which is great and all. The issue for now would be a lot of blue. We're not looking at it with a 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour buy, but we're also not looking at it with a 15-minute, 30-minute, hourly, 2 hour sell trigger. She's neutral. And neutral can be tough in terms of, hey, I'm going to jump in and get, super aggressively long or short. If we may be with patience anchor to our daily squeeze, thinking being, hey, if they can fire that, that should be the next decent short-term move. That one's also a bit of a tough read. It leans a little bit bullish with 6 points at a 15, but your trend's a little bit more neutral, structure's neutral. And like we talked about back yesterday, one thing we haven't had since pretty much the beginning of August, momentum behind the bulls. Got the histogram, you have the MACD bars. They get the negative cross back on August 1st. As we can see, it doesn't necessarily kill the market, but they think about the breakout and they pull it back in, they pop it back in, versus say June and July. You've got perfect structure, the trend, momentum, and a lot of squeeze action. Easier stuff. So yeah, I think it's tricky spot, guys. Good rule of thumb, if they could get 2 closes back above the 21 EMA, then they flip the 15-minute chart bullish, 30-minute hourly. It does take that daily squeeze alignment for a breakout. For the flip side, if they got, say, 2 closes back below your daily 50, and then you have a 15-minute sell trigger, 30-minute, 1 hour sell trigger, could be an easier short. What I'm not trying to do is get too caught up in the NQ between that little moving average sandwich. And then let's go check out maybe the S&P futures. Now, where I do like these would be the 2-day squeeze. All right, that one would fit the bill for a breakout. But then you look at it from the ground up, and your 5-minute is neutral, 15-minute neutral, blue on the 30, blue on the hourly, too much blue. If they can keep the perfect 2-day squeeze and get a 1 hour buy trigger, 30-minute, here comes a 4 hour buy signal, here comes a fresh daily buy signal, then the odds will kind of favor they do want to break that long. So patience on that idea, and then a few things from the radar off of last night. And again, more of the theme of patience on the indices, which can a lot of times mean patience across everything. We've pulled back into more of a neutral market, meaning you look at maybe a monthly time frame, a weekly time frame. Bigger time frames are still nice and bullish. It's just you look at the QQQ and you have maybe sloppier action on a 15-minute, a 30-minute, all the above. Now this should change here a little bit at the open, so we'll find out. But as of last night, you had silver, gold, biotech, energy, and healthcare as your strongest sectors. Frankly, I don't love to trade biotech. I don't love to trade energy, and I don't love to trade silver. I will dabble with the gold. And then your weakest would be XLP, utilities, Bitcoin, and the ARC. Big dogs would be the SMH and the XLK. They're down here. Again, not the worst scores, but they don't really scream like they did 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. Wake up, get long, and cash in your check. Could work, maybe not as easy. And then for the Big 10 basket, you had Google here before the gap up, showing some signs of strength, followed by the Apple, and yeah, a lot of neutral action here, which will maybe change for better or worse after Broadcom earnings, I think Thursday. Could give it a pop, could give it a drop, but yeah, Nvidia's pretty neutral, Meta. Tesla's a little bit more neutral, Microsoft and the Amazon. Google, the king of the hill. And then if you go through, let's go to the main list. Couple things I did like off the top 20. One was the Boeing, the other one was the McDonald's, and then a little bit of the APP. A little bit of that APP. But all right, so for Boeing here, now the only thing to keep an eye on if you're trading the Dow stocks, energy, healthcare, if you're trading anything not big tech, big semis, just be careful. If they rotate very heavy back into big chips and big tech, it can be a case of you have a few days where they're selling Nvidia, they're selling the Broadcom, Google pulls back. Well, not not Google, but you'll have a case where for a few days they'll sell the big dogs, and yeah, they'll take a little bit of that cash and rotate into the biotech, industrials, XLPs, and for a few days they'll climb the board. Check the homepage, check the sector rankings, and yeah, you'll have biotech up here, energy, healthcare, while the SMHs, XLKs, they kind of fade off. Just be careful. You jump in, you're buying a bunch of the MO, BKR, Travelers, Boeing, General Electric, McDonald's. If they rotate very hard back into these guys, Google, Apple, Broadcom, Netflix, that's where those can be a little flakier. All right, here comes a perfect 4-hour squeeze in Boeing. And the market opens. Big money has a thirst for big tech, big chips. All the cash goes there, and down goes Boeing. Even though you had the proper setup, the ranking, all of the pieces. So food for thought there. But anywho, Boeing with a 2-day, a daily, a 2-hour, an hourly, a 30, and a 5-minute squeeze. Squeezes are a plentiful. For a bigger breakout here off the daily, the only thing you're really missing would be momentum, which you can maybe trigger maybe this week. Let's go drop down to the 2-hour. All right, that one pretty clean with the green arrow and then the hourly. Green arrow on the hourly as well. All right, Boeing pretty good here. What about maybe the APP? 2-hour, 1 hour, 30 for APP. And I'm pretty sure you have the green arrow off the 2. White arrow off the 2, and nothing off the 1 hour, the 30 just yet. Could keep an eye on that one. Let's go jump to, yeah, Rocket Lab. I do like Rocket Lab and Carvana. Good pop here into the open for the Rocket Lab. But that one had or has a 30-minute, an hourly, 2-hour daily, and a 2-day squeeze. Really like the 2-day squeeze. All right, that checks the boxes, and then your end of day hourly. Won't always make for a big gap up. But if you have a name you like, look for the end of day 15-minute, 30-minute squeeze. Yeah, so gap it into 50 and change here. Pretty good gap. And then the other one would be Carvana. What I love about Carvana is you're wrong under like 350. And the thing trades closer to 365-ish. The target off the daily squeeze would be like 400 and change. The target off of maybe your 3-day squeeze closer to all right. Closer to 425-ish. So in theory, it's a spot where if you want to take that bigger picture swing, you jump in, you get long off of the daily squeeze. Your initial risk is like 15, maybe $20 in exchange for what could be, 40, 50 to $60. Gotta like that one. And then the 3-day squeeze here. Rock solid, really clean. I'm liking that one a lot, actually. If they could go and get a green arrow on the 2-day, even better. But all right, guys, few things I am liking there. APP, Boeing, Rocket Lab, Carvana. We're long some Amazon, some Tesla, and then Probably taking profit here on Google at the open. With the understanding being, I do think eventually you get to 250. Great way to look at it. If the weekly squeeze can go and do its job, Google should become a $250+ stock at some point. But with a call that expires in December, and even after our gap up, it'll be 20, $25 out the money. Any profit they pump into it here at the open, they gap into 225, they pull back into 200. All that caked in profit disappears. If I had maybe the 180 calls, deep in the money, not worrying about the theta, could be a little easier to hold on and look for more. But a paycheck is a paycheck. So there's Google. And yeah, aside from that, patience on the indices. Good rule of thumb, if you get 2 closes back below your daily 50, and we're talking the NQ here, folks, 2 closes back below your daily 50 with a lower time frame sell signal or lower time frame sell signals, they maybe do try to break that daily squeeze short. I don't think the end of the world if they do. Maybe you're pulled back to the weekly 21. 2 closes back above the daily 21 EMA, 15-minute buy trigger, 30-minute buy trigger. They might want to work on the idea of breaking the thing out. So patience on that. And then Thursday we have, I think it's Thursday, but I think a lot of things. Broadcom. Yeah, tomorrow after the close. And you can imagine if they gap it down into $250, won't be a great thing for the chips, SMH, big tech. If they gap it into $350, could be a good thing. And everything in between. A few of these SMH names I would love to get long. One being the Broadcom daily squeeze, the other being the NVIDIA daily squeeze, the other being the Broadcom daily squeeze. But got to get through earnings and have to wait for the trigger. But all right, guys, any questions for me? Anything y'all want to look at? Get it in the chat. I will see what you got. And then, folks, over in my room, I will catch you for the open in 10, maybe 15. Where's the Google now? Yeah, 226-ish. Yeah, Tim, we'll go take a peek here at the hood. When we launch our beta version in what should be a couple of weeks here, we're gonna bump the main list from 193 stocks to about 3,000. But do we have hood for now? No, we don't have hood in there yet. Should be covered on the 3,000 though. All right, hood. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. It reminds me of the QQQ, where all throughout May, June, July, you had good structure, good trend, and you had good momentum. Right, and the trend tired, you pull back, you get continuation, you pull back, continuation. And then when you lose momentum in early August, again, it's not that you break down the squeeze break short. It's just you kind of lose the oomph. Right? They flush it, they rally, and dip it back in. They think about the breakout, back in, they pop it, they flush. You go from just easier, really clear direction to the chop. And that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is they can't get momentum back on the buy side. It just keeps on trending lower and lower. At some point, you will see the squeeze break short. All of the energy being built up, they've got to go and release it at some point. Best case is they hook momentum, and you back above your 21 EMA, couple the buy triggers, and then you go for a fresh leg back towards the upside. But again, I think like the QQQ, same rule of thumb. 2 closes back below your daily 50 and a few lower time frame sell triggers. Doesn't guarantee it, but it would be easier to see the squeeze go and break short. Versus you're above your 21, you have buy triggers and good momentum. The good Momo. All right, Andrew watching some Zscaler. Yeah, so I followed JC, Johnny F. Carter, followed him into an earnings trade here on Zscaler, which I'll do about 4 times per year. So Zscaler here. What John did was a iron fly. The earnings iron fly. So the thinking here was, I think there was about a $25 expected move. So by selling the the wide at the money iron condor iron fly, you're basically placing your bet. It'll open up somewhere within the $25 expected move, up or down. And with an open around 280, the thing's only up about $5. So they pump in all the IV into the announcement. All right, IV is 152%. If you don't get a bigger than expected move up or down after earnings, you get the big IV crush on both sides. So by doing the iron condor and then, this would basically be a perfect open for an iron fly. You do the iron fly, they open the thing anywhere within the expected move. You get a little profit from the IV crush. And again, I'll do that like 3, maybe 4 times per year. But as far as Zscaler as an overall chart, not one I'd be in a big rush to jump in and buy right now. Not for the immediate jump in, buy it on a Monday and catch a push by Tuesday kind of trade. -4, neutral structure, neutral trend. But little gap coming here, so that won't hurt it. Yeah, Joe. So I'm keeping my Tesla October call debit spread. Looking like a pop into 335-ish here. Yeah, I still like the trade here off the 2-day squeeze. 15 points, A plus setup, the green arrow. Where I would like to jump in and buy more would be the green arrow on the weekly. Because then I think with time, that could get you into 400, 425-ish. So I'm a fan of Tesla really above 320, 315-ish. And yeah, we did cover Rocket Lab. I do like that one. What's up, Mirza? What's up, John? Peter in Vermont and Debbie. Good morning, guys. Yeah, thanks, Mark. I think I did a good job in Google, not a great job. And there's a frustration of if I were to put on paper everything I liked about it that got me long from 200 to 205, like everything I like about that monthly squeeze from 205, it had every little detail, the same variables around a $1.70. Difference is we buy it around a $1.70. We only have to sit through maybe a $10 pullback. Then we can figure out we're wrong. Where my entry around 200 and change, they could pull the thing back a good 15% from my entry. The monthly chart is still really bullish. Now, granted, I'm sitting through a little chop in Tesla, but that's what I like about the entry for the 2-day squeeze on Tesla. Yeah, they could gap the thing down $90, of course. Right, but I'm buying it around 330, 335-ish. I'm wrong in the short term under, we'll call it 315. My real target here is closer to 400, 420. I can take a couple of shots at it, be wrong a few times. If I can finally catch it just once, should walk away pretty good net profit. The Google example, not as good of an entry, but we'll get there. We'll get better, guys. Good morning, Shush. SOUN. Let's go take a peek over there. Yeah, good morning, guys. Thank you for coming through. Happy hump day. Doesn't feel like a hump day. SOUN. I would watch your 4-hour squeeze for now. Reason being, they can really pack a punch. Kind of one notch below your daily squeeze. And on my indicator, I don't have the immediate trigger right now. That would be a white or a green arrow. But if we check the score up here, it's 10 points out of 15. Lean's pretty bullish, and you have good trend, good structure. It maybe takes a few more days to get the trigger, but if it could get it, that can make a nice, strong short-term pop. So yeah, I would anchor to the 4-hour. Hey, what's up, Dondrell? Yeah, so the white moving average is the 21 period EMA. The blue one is the 50 period SMA. All right, 50 period SMA, 21 period EMA, and then that big boy is the 200 SMA. So a 200 simple, a 50 simple, and a 21 exponential. The tricks of the moving average trade. Yeah, Joe. So for gold here, what a beast! What a beast! Let's see, 5 minute and a 1 hour squeeze here. Yeah, good criteria, not the best entry. But yeah, as far as a pullback buy here in gold, from a bigger picture point of view, here's the kicker. It's already had a really good week. They haven't even fired the weekly squeeze yet. So I think in the short term, you maybe look for a path into call it. Let's just call it 3,700 for GC, the futures. And now the goal would be, all right, from a good risk reward point of view, how can I play for a path from 3620 into 3,700? And that could be the pullback into the 15-minute 21, the 30-minute 21. You could buy a pullback into an hourly 21. My preference is let them find a spot for a chill pill. They take a breather, drink a little Gatorade, then they give you something like a 5-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute squeeze. The current 1 hour chart being a good example. If I had that just a little bit closer to the 21 EMA, I could jump in and buy it. All right, they pump it, and then you're chopping. All right, catching its breath, taking a breather, brand new squeeze, wait for a trigger. Then you call for another pop higher. And what I like about that is we can jump in and find spots to not only catch continuation, but if I'm buying it off of the hourly squeeze above the hourly 21, I shouldn't lose my shirt. So I can jump in and find a great spot to catch continuation. Can also jump in off of a 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour squeeze. Do a pretty good job of keeping my risk in check. Yeah, she's strong like bull. It's really an aggressiveness thing. You could buy a pullback to a 1 minute 21 EMA. That's very aggressive. You could buy a pullback to maybe a 15-minute 21 EMA, and that's still maybe aggressive, not as aggressive as a 1 minute. So a lot of times the time frame has a direct correlation to the aggressiveness scale. For a dip buy, for a squeeze, all the above. But no, gold is a beast. A beast indeed. Hey, what's up, Ravi? Nvidia, Dollar Tree, and Marvell. Yeah, for Nvidia, I'm gonna have to hold off until Friday morning. Just wait and get through Broadcom earnings first. And then for Dollar Tree, there's a lot of this dynamic right now where they can't quite break the daily 50, which in a lot of cases can open the door for a better flush. But at the same time, they really can't get those two strong closes back above the 21 EMA. Short term, that can make it a tough trade. Again, they get 2 closes below the 50 SMA, and then you have a 15-minute sell trigger, a 30-minute, and hourly. It does become a much easier short. Back above your 21 EMA, 15-minute buy, hourly buy, then it becomes a much easier long. And then we factor in earnings are. Earnings are. Come on, why you got to fight me? They might have been here before the open, so okay, yeah, gapping down to about 102. So pretty good gap down coming. One I would give time to rebuild and find a bottom. And then the old Marvell. With a negative 15, broken trend, bear structure, and bear momentum, it would be a short. But for a better risk reward, ideally shorting it closer to the falling 21 EMA, which we are about 13% underneath right now. So again, good example of a good entry versus a very tough entry. If I'm the guy getting short down here, they could rally at 5, 10, 15%. Anything that's bearish right now, it'll still be bearish, right? That pop won't fix the structure, won't fix the trend, momentum, won't cancel the sell trigger, give you a buy trigger. So now I'm short down here. I'm getting ran over. It's the very rally I should want to short into. That can happen on the opposite chart. Great structure, momentum, all the pretty colors, perfect score. But if I'm getting too hot and heavy in calls up here at the extension, they could gap it down an immediate 15+%. Nothing will change. My calls will die. my account balance will change, but the actual setup itself, not so much. All right, and the last one here will be TEM and Rocket Lab for Mike. TEM. So TEM for at the buy zone with a buy trigger. Not a bad combo, and then a 4-hour, a 2-hour, and an hourly squeeze. Yeah, being that you're right above your daily mean, if you could get a buy trigger off of any of them, the 4-hour, the 2-hour, or the hourly, especially the 4-hour, but any of them, that could give you a nice little kick in the rear here, little oomph for the push in. Yeah, good call. I like that one. Hey, good morning, Caesar, and then yeah, so Rocket Lab, decent gap up here at the open, I believe. Yeah, 50-30. So in the short term, I would look at it through the lens of 55 would be a good short-term target. That green line measures 3 average true range moves above that 21. All right, so profit target would be about 55 and change. And then you're really wrong here in the short term, I would say, on a break below your 50. So wrong under 43 and right around 55. Then we have to factor in, all right, if it gaps up into 51 and change, do I love the entry? And look, you can take it off sooner. You can anchor to the $45 daily 21 EMA. You can anchor to a 5-minute 21 EMA. Whatever you choose is your quote unquote line in the sand. Just make sure the entry makes sense. If your target is 52, you buy it at 51, and your exit's down here at 45. You can make it work if you have like a 95% win rate, but we don't want to bank on that. But no, I do like it. If they can get that momentum shift, that's your first fresh tank of gas for bulls in about a month. They could do good things with that. But all right, guys, I'm going to let you go here, folks, in my room. I will catch you in about 2 minutes. For the rest of y'all, thank you for coming through. Hope you found it helpful. And then let me think. Today is not Monday. Today is Wednesday. So I'm back with you next week, same time, same channel. And should have a couple of videos here on the YouTube channel, maybe a few tonight, and then a few for the remainder of the week. But all right, guys, good trading. Thank you again, and we'll talk soon. Adios.